Welcome to the Steelers by the Lake podcast. My name is James Strong, joined once again by my co-host Cody Tanner on this fine Tuesday morning. Happens to be Victory Tuesday, Cody. How are you doing today?
Oh, man, it's Victory Tuesday. It would have been a Victory Monday had we recorded yesterday. I was traveling back from being in Erie, Pennsylvania, visiting friends and family, including James here. We got to watch the game together, which was a great time. Enjoyed ourselves. He got to meet my girlfriend. It was all a fun time. We got to hang out with some puppies. That's just how that's how it normally goes at your house, James. It's always the puppies
all the time.
But how are you, James? What are you cracking open there?
Oh, we got another energy drink. Want to make sure I'm bringing the energy for the folks today in the pod.
There we go. You're on vacation.
Yeah, I'm on vacation, man. It turned out to be a good time with everything going on in the family these days. So
yeah,
lots going on. I'll catch you up afterwards. I don't need to stress the people out about what's going on these days.
Got it. But we had a preseason game. James, you said it's Victory Tuesday. We had a game. Good game. We played well. Terrible talent. Mine is back there. I see it.
I got like 3 of them piled up over here.
And some on the wall. No,
couple.
Pittsburgh obviously got the win in their first preseason game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They did win 27-17, and they didn't look half bad. I was impressed with how well they played. I will say this. I watched a YouTube video, James, and we'll get into discussing this at some point. It's by a guy who's either a quarterback coach or was a quarterback coach in the NFL. I don't remember exactly, but he broke down the first drive. He was breaking down Kenny Pickett's drive, and he's like, the first 2 plays, he's like, this is a Matt Canada offense through and through. He's like, I hate this. He's like, these check downs, these dump offs, these short plays. He's like, don't get me wrong, they're not bad, but like Pittsburgh does this more than any other team in the NFL, and it frustrates me as a quarterback's coach. And he's like, I think he said something like, it frustrated me as a fan. I was like, I know, it does. Like, there's
It's interesting that he said that because I saw a video somebody else did breaking down the drive where Kenny kept on passing up the check down option and taking the options further down the field.
After the first 2 plays, yes. He was talking about the beginning. Yeah. He was talking about the beginning of the drive, how it felt like it was those 2 plays were schemed to just do quick completions, and the one to Najee in the back, basically in the backfield, was just a bad play. In my opinion, he caught the ball and there were 6 dudes on him in like less than 2 seconds.
And to be 100% transparent, I would say probably 98% of offensive coordinators do that at the beginning of the games to build confidence in the quarterback. Get a couple cheap, easy completions so that they get in the rhythm and they don't start off on the wrong foot with an incomplete pass.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's a little bit of unfair criticism there, especially when that drive turned out pretty doggone good.
I'll have to go back and look and see what he said again. I was watching it late last night. I slept too much during the day yesterday, so I was up a little bit. But anyways, so, I mean, Kenny had a good drive. Kenny went 6 of 7 on his first drive for 70 yards and a touchdown. You can't ask for much more.
No.
Almost
a perfect QBR.
7 for 7.
Yeah. Almost a perfect QBR. The placement of the balls was great. He did a good job, as we were talking about, of not just settling for the check down when that was the design play. Yeah, that's what he took. But multiple times he extended the play a little bit and made sure to hit, whether it was Deontay Johnson or somebody else, past the sticks, getting the first downs. We had so much frustration in the last few years of all these passes on third down being short of the sticks, not ending up getting the first downs. That was not something we saw on that first drive. Nope. What we saw was a well-oiled machine and a quarterback that looked like a seasoned vet. And this is only his second year in the league, and he didn't even play the entire first season. But boy, did he look good in that first drive, man. So I was very encouraged, very happy to see what we saw on that. And then to finish it up the way they did with that pass to George Pickens.
Yeah, it was a great pass to George Pickens. George Pickens did a phenomenal job of making people miss after the fact. George Pickens is proving, I almost think him after the catch is just as electrifying as Antonio Brown was. Quite frankly, I think that he has a little bit more strength than Antonio Brown had. And when I say a little bit, I mean a lot of it. He's a little taller, a little bigger than Antonio Brown was. But George Pickens is proving to us why he deserves to be wide receiver number 1 over a guy like Deontay Johnson. Now, don't get me wrong, Deontay Johnson had a decent game. We'll talk about him a little later for just a few seconds, if at all. But he did have 3 catches for 32 yards. But Kenny Pickett is proving why he's starting quarterback, and I'm liking that Pickett to Pickens. And you know what I like even more, James? Yesterday was a celebration of that day because it was 8:14, and want to know what else is 8:14? Erie County, 814, baby. So all around, I think it's a good vibe between Pickett and Pickens, and I think it's gonna be awesome to watch that. I mean, the weapons we're gonna have for the years to come is gonna be really, really, really exciting.
Yeah, I love that the big criticism on Pickens was that he wasn't getting any yards after contact, and that touchdown play was half yards after contact and making people miss on his way to really effortlessly getting that touchdown.
It's only catching the game too.
Yeah, I know it wasn't all starters, but yeah, very, very smooth how that went. Past Kenny Pickett, really the only other quarterback that had a good night was Mason Rudolph. We had some struggles from both Mitch and from Tanner Morgan. But Mason was able to really move the offense and get him in scoring range multiple times. Had a successful 2-minute drive at the end of the half. Had a beautiful, perfect touchdown pass to Calvin Austin III, really showing off the touch on the deep ball on that, but also just getting it far enough to get it in front of Calvin Austin. It seemed like that's the struggle, is a lot of guys aren't used to that speed. Like, they know he's fast. They know he's the fastest wide receiver on the team. He might be the fastest wide receiver in the AFC North. He is very, very fast.
Yep. Yeah, I'm curious.
But man, you got to put it like an extra 5 yards out there further than any other dude. In the way he just blew by that guy, just perfect pass for Mason there. And we, regardless of whether you like Mason Rudolph or you don't like Mason Rudolph, you should want him to do really well in this preseason, because some of these other teams that are talking about, this rookie and this veteran, or even Tampa Bay, for crying out loud, they got Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask battling it out for the starting job. If Mason keeps on putting up performances like that, you can't tell me they wouldn't rather have him over those two guys.
True.
So let him keep building his value, and you never know, we might be able to trade him for a couple handfuls of cards or something. I don't know.
Yeah, and we'd love that. We'd love to get something out of him before just letting him.
Yeah, get some value. He's on a 1-year deal.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I thought Kenny and Mason, obviously the two best quarterbacks in the game. Both of them threw touchdowns. The other two quarterbacks threw interceptions, but that is what it is. Running back room, obviously. We didn't see a whole lot. We did see some Calvin Austin end-arounds, which was nice for rushing stats. But as far as the running backs specifically, Jaylen Warren had a light game. We saw a lot of Greg Bell, but no real production. Biggest things here we saw was Anthony McFarland Jr., solidifying his potential name as the third string running back, because, Jaylen Warren and Najee Harris are locked in. Who's going to be the third guy? Do they even keep 3 this year?
Yeah.
I'm sure they're going to, but I just bring the question because you have Connor Hayward, who's a all-around guy who could totally run the ball if we wanted him to, and who potentially might play fullback. We'll have to wait and see. There's another name we'll get into a little later about fullback. But Anthony McFarland with the rushing touchdown for 14 yards on a play that looked like it was meant to go either up the middle or to the left, and that he bounced it to the right and got outside and made it easy. Made it look easy, I should say. Untouched in the end zone, 14 yards.
Hasn't lost a step for sure. He's still very quick, but he's gained some size and some muscle. We saw this multiple times throughout the game, whether it be picking up a blitz and not being bowled over by a middle linebacker coming through or whoever came free. Also, I think on his first carry, I noticed that he just kept on fighting and kept on getting more and more yards, kept on driving his legs. And in previous years, as soon as he had contact with a defender, he basically lost and would get driven backwards. That's not the case now. He's definitely a stronger individual than he was. So I'm excited about what we saw. What our first taste in the preseason of Anthony McFarland looked very good to me. So I'm happy about that. If he becomes the number 3 running back with some potential on kick return too, because he did line up as a kick returner on the one play, didn't get the opportunity to return it, but he did line up back there. So could be that his path to the team is as a kick return specialist and that third down back kind of guy. So I like what I saw from him. Just nobody else really popped that much to me in the running game.
No, I'd agree with that. But but still looking forward to see what happens. I want to see some big running plays. I want to see some big gains, or big hits or stiff arms or something. I want to see someone say, hey, I want this position, even if it's the third string or second string, whatever. Jaylen Warren, technically that's his to lose, but that was good running from Anthony McFarland for sure. Wide receivers, James, let's talk about the guys catching the ball.
Yeah, man, the young guys really making it happen in this game. Last year's rookie class shined really big. George Pickens, Calvin Austin the third, looking like they could be a real dangerous combination in future years. Deontay Johnson had a couple nice catches, I thought, as well early in the game. So
the important thing for him was 3 for 3. 3 catches on 3 targets. That's the important thing.
Yeah, he did his thing. He's just got to focus on the basics and keep going positive with that. But really excited about that. And I know a lot of folks get frustrated seeing all the end arounds and stuff, but those aren't going anywhere. Those are a big part of Matt Canada's offense.
Yep.
And you have to understand that whether they're successful or not, that keeps the backside linebacker from pursuing. When you're running to the right, but you ran a motion to the left with a wide receiver, that linebacker has to stay out there, and he can't run down the line and tackle your running back from behind now, because he has to honor the fact that that guy could come around his side and get the handoff, and you could have that jet sweep. And it was very successful multiple times. So it was nice to see that. We're going to see that more in the regular season. It's just a way to keep things from getting clustered up.
Yep.
And get bunched up on the defense. And the same thing with Calvin Austin going deep. The reason that is so important is because then you can't play just one safety deep. You have to have both of them deep. And then that's one less guy in the box. That gives Najee and Jaylen more room to run.
Yep.
That gives them the ability to make that linebacker miss and then have some room to run before they have another defender instead of another safety being there already.
Mm-hmm.
So very important that these parts of the offense go as well as they are. Dez Fitzpatrick, we wanted to talk about him briefly because he really showed up on special teams. He was everywhere on the kick coverage unit, on the punt coverage unit, just constantly around the ball. Almost looked like a defensive back with his instincts, the way he was getting in there.
Yep.
So that's very important to see, just because, at this point we feel like the top 5 wide receivers are pretty much solidified. But that 6th wide receiver, you're probably going to have to add special teams value, whether it be as a return man or as a cover guy. And it showed some pretty excellent cover skills for Dez on that particular game. So worth noting on that, at least.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, Calvin Austin, the third, having the long touchdown, 67-yard touchdown from Mason Rudolph, and then George.
You can say it. It's okay.
George Pickens from Pickett. It was all a good time. And then obviously Dez Fitzpatrick making a name for himself on special teams. That's an easy way to make a team right there, is being good on special teams and a gunner, especially at a wide receiver position where you can have that depth for sure. Tight end room, we want to talk Darnell Washington. He only had 1 catch for 9 yards, but he was in there. He was active. It's nice to see the blocking, of course. But it was nice to see the fact that he came in and he didn't look like he was confused. He didn't look like he, needed help with anything. Sometimes, and people talked about him being injury prone or having injuries before the offseason and before drafting and everything. If he performs the way that we both think he can, he's a steal and a half for this draft.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, and he seemed very confused when talking to reporters about where this came from as far as him having injury issues and having knee issues, because he says he's never had any. So I love the way he looked in the blocking game. There was one play where a play went to the left and Darnell Washington took somebody 5 or 6 yards downfield, and then Gentry kicked somebody out and pancaked them. And it made you smile thinking about these massive tight ends that we've got behind Pat Freiermuth. I mean, Pat's not a small guy, but he looks small in the room because of how big these other two are. And just neat to see the dominance from them in the blocking game. And the potential from it. So will we see these guys get 70, 80 catches and 10 touchdowns? I doubt it. But the potential for what they can open up in the blocking game and the reliability catching and then getting a couple yards to get that first down. I think the option of going to them on third down is going to be incredible because you've got very sure hands in the tight end room. and big bodies that can fight for that extra yard.
You can almost go out in a goal line defense at any point in time. On 1st and 10, you can go out in goal line defense and create a mismatch.
Yeah. You mean goal line offense?
Or excuse me,
tight ends?
Goal line offense, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Because if they counter it with a bunch of safeties and linebackers and no corners out there, man, you're going to have a tough time covering these tight ends.
Yep. That'd be something fun to see. I'd love to see us 1st and 10, opening drive, come out and goal line.
Yeah, and then before set, you just you say
Audible.
that keyword and everybody goes out.
Connor Hayward was in at fullback. You had because look at that. You could have Freiermuth, Gentry, Washington, and Hayward with Najee in the backfield.
Yeah, that's
wild.
some real headaches. That's some real headaches for people, man. The screen game could be really crazy. Cody, imagine the screen game with these blockers out in front this year. Holy cow, that just popped in my head. Wide receiver screens and running back screens could be way more effective with these tight ends.
Yep. Super excited for that. We'll have to see what happens. Offensive line, we want to talk about a couple guys here. James,
Broderick Jones.
Robert Jones.
Yeah, Broderick Jones, first off. There was one play where a guy got it by him on his inside pad. The running back missed his chip. I don't know if he was counting on the chip to help out or not, but the guy got it into his pads, drove him back a little bit. Other than that play, Broderick had a really good night.
And he played a lot.
So he played a ton. He started the game out, the second offense. I think Dan Moore started with the first offense, and he was in the second offensive line. So basically the second series he was in there. And then they brought him back in later on in the game to get him a turn. So I like it. Spencer Anderson, the 7th round rookie offensive lineman, as far as I saw, he played at least 3 positions. He started at right tackle. He had some right guard. He did some left guard. The versatility is incredible. His anchor looks really good. When people try to bull rush him, it doesn't work. So I really like seeing that. And he was one of those dudes that athletically measured very well. He was strong. He ran well. His jumps were good. That kind of stuff. When you looked at that RAS score on Spencer Anderson, he was really high, just like the rest of the draft picks this year in that 9+ category. Very good athletically. So I'm excited to see that. It seems like he might be somebody that they're really enjoying moving all over the place. And with some of the weaknesses of some of the other players, that might be more important. Nick Herbig, I thought or Nate Herbig, I should say, had a nice night snapping the ball. He looked very strong and honestly more mobile than I expected. Yeah. This is my first time really watching him, and he's like this 335, 340-pound guy. Kind of looks like he has a semi-sloppy build, almost more like a Ramon Foster type, where there's a little bit of unhealthy weight with the good weight, but he still moves good.
Yep.
He moves way better than I thought he would. So I was impressed with Nate Herbig, and as impressed as I was with him, I was unimpressed with our last guy, Cody, and I think so was everybody else, including yourself.
Yep. Yeah, Mr. Kendrick Green did not play the part, look the role, or anything at the offensive line position. He got bulldozed and blown up at one point. He missed a key block on the offensive line. He got called for holding. He had a bad snap that unfortunately led to I don't even remember what that led to. I know that we got the ball back.
Somebody just had to jump on it.
I think it was
a big loss.
I think it was Mason that had to jump on it.
Yeah, I think Mason had to jump on the ball and just eat the play.
Yeah. So just unfortunate, and it brings to question, and James thought we were going to see it in this game. We didn't happen to see it in this game. Is this a guy that we're going to move to fullback? Is this going to be the new fullback on the team? I don't think we saw any fullback play.
Nope. Well, no one. I saw one snap where the 5th string tight end, Dorian Williams or whatever his name, he lined up as a fullback. That's the only time I saw them really use a fullback the entire game, I think.
So I'm curious if in the second preseason game we're going to see Kendrick Green at the fullback position, because quite frankly, I don't think his position on this team anymore is on the offensive line. I don't even think, if he doesn't play fullback, I don't think he makes the 53 at this point. I really don't.
I'm with you on that. His offensive line play is bad enough, or at least was in this first preseason game. He's got a chance to correct it. He's got 2 more games, but it's more the same of what we saw the last 2 years from him. So I really don't expect it to get corrected. Bigger defensive linemen, longer defensive linemen are just going to give him issues because he doesn't have that length. So for his sake, I really hope he gets a chance to play more fullback in the next couple of games, because I do think it's pretty exciting what he's capable of doing at fullback. It's just horrifying what he's not capable of on the offensive line and how that gets somebody hurt.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens there. Moving over to the defensive side of the ball, Keanu Benton had a phenomenal game. James and I both thought he fits the role. He fits the part of the big nose tackle that we're looking for, the big guy up front. I don't even know.
Dominant.
Insanely dominant. I don't even know if he registered a stat. That's what I'm curious about.
No, he had like 3 tackles, and one of them was a tackle for loss.
Okay.
Yeah, he was behind the line on the wrong side of the scrimmage nonstop and in a good way. You know, just penetrating. These interior offensive linemen could not handle him. He was way stronger than them, and he ran second team nose tackle. Fehoko ended up third team, so he got in there pretty early in the game. And I know that they played some of their starters pretty heavy into the game. We noticed their one starting guard. Now his name's escaping me, but he ended up playing right tackle for a large portion of the game. So some of those guys did get a pretty good burn, but he just looked bigger and stronger than everybody else, man. That was my big takeaway, is that, you know, these guys come out and you see the measurable 6'4", 315. Okay, obviously that's a very large human being. Yep. But what does it look like? It looks good, man. The dude is very well built. He's big in his upper body, his chest, and his arms, and he moves pretty well for his size too. So I'm excited about this. I feel like this is one of those things where he's only going to be nose tackle for a couple of years. And then when Cam Hayward retires, he's going to kind of slide into that Cam Hayward type role of being more of the defensive end / interior pass rusher. But fantastic game from him. And I was very encouraged by the Marvin Leal and Isaiah Loudermilk. Both of them got a lot of burn in this game and looked stout against the run. That was the big question mark with both of these guys. Can they defend the run? Can they give you anything in pass rush? DeMarvin Leal got in on a sack, right?
Yep.
So great to see. And again, Leal, the size was a question. Is he going to be able to handle being an interior defensive lineman and also play some outside linebacker? Looked like it was no problem for him, man. And I thought Loudermilk was very disruptive against the run. Not so much as far as rushing the passer, but that's never been his forte, but very disruptive against the run. Just, they weren't moving him. They weren't moving him. He wasn't getting driven backwards. So very encouraging by the young defensive linemen in this group. We've been wondering for a few years, what's the next generation, especially after Stephon Tuitt retired early. What was it going to be? Who are going to be the guys that the torch can be passed to? There's some promising potential in these 3 guys.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what they have to offer. And, you know, we talked about it. This is potentially the future of the team here. We've always had decent defensive linemen when you think about winning Super Bowls and stuff like that. Casey Hampton, Aaron Smith, Brett Kiesel, the frickin' beard. This could be the next step in that defensive front that Pittsburgh has that's so, you know, powerful and aggressive and have that mean toughness to them that we've been honestly somewhat missing, I feel like, minus Cam Hayward. Stephon Tuitt had a little bit here and there, Tyson Alualu a little bit, but like those guys I felt like were so hit or miss with injuries and stuff that like Cam's been the only one consistent on that line for the last I don't know how long.
You're right. We had a couple of great seasons out of Tuitt, but he was injured a lot.
Yep.
And then like I feel like Alualu gave us like 1 or 2 really good years at nose tackle and then fizzled.
Yep. Yeah, so I'm excited to see what these guys have to offer and what the potential is with them moving forward, for sure. Now, there's somebody else we want to talk about in the outside linebacker position, and only one guy specifically. And it's a guy that belongs here, James. It's a guy that belongs here. Mr. Herbig, not Nate, but Nick, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah,
correct.
Nick Herbig. Showing that he's going to be a good transitional piece as far as rotations, and arguably, in my opinion, could probably win a starting job on 90% of the other teams in the NFL right now.
He looks like it, doesn't he?
Which is unfortunate for us because we're going to have to pay him big money if we want to keep him. But he's on a rookie deal, thankfully. Years. Yeah, not for 4 years. No, just played the part really well. He ended the game with 3 total tackles. He had a sack and a half. Just his ability to make an offensive lineman overextend themselves one direction and alternate back was just amazing. Loved it.
Yeah, he showed everything in this game, right? He showed like 4 or 5 pass rush moves. He beat the guy to the outside. And again, this was the starting left guard that had moved to the right tackle at this point. That's who he abused, was a starting offensive lineman who was playing a little right tackle. I'm not sure why, if they were just trying to work on that particular guy's versatility or what. But starting left guard, playing right tackle, smoked him on the outside on one play, did a really nice counter to the inside and beat him hard on the inside move. Just you're seeing what all the offensive linemen from camp have been talking about, how really quick he is around the edge.
The one time
he is very disruptive.
Yeah, the one time he hit the running back in the backfield, he was on his hands and knees, but never actually went to the ground.
Yeah, he just kept on going.
That's crazy.
Bear crawling, just like you're taught in camp from when you're like middle school age, man. Never give up on a play. If you can bear crawl to it, you do it. And boy, the determination, grit, very, very quick, and showed a little bit of power getting guys to the ground pretty easily too. So I'm really excited about Herbig. You know, there was a lot of question marks. Will he have to move to middle linebacker? Is the length going to be an issue for him? So far, so good. Let's see how he does in the next couple preseason games.
Middle linebacker has enough people there right now. Let's be real. And we want to talk about, honestly, 3 of them. I think personally, we have 2 written down. Mark,
I was just thinking the third one too.
Yep, we're thinking the same one. I know we are. Mark Robinson, the guy from last year, the only remaining guy on the team in the middle linebacker room from last season, showing up, being active, being near the ball. He had 6 total tackles, 4 solos on the game, which in a preseason game,
all over.
Yeah, but in a preseason game, that's a lot. It really is. Preseason games, for whatever reason, fly by so much faster than regular season. I think it's because the teams aren't trying to necessarily like score big points or this or that. They're trying to play different things and see different scenarios. And so they take their time a little bit more, I think, in these preseason games, minus 2-minute drills, because you want to see what the offense can do when rushed and stuff like that. We got to see that. But Mark Robinson had a great game with those 6 tackles. And then also, you want to talk about the other guy, Nick Kwiatkowski, who I thought had a good game.
Very active, very active in the secondary. That was what stuck out to me the most. It seemed like he was a lot quicker than I expected. Being a veteran, I want to say he's kind of an older vet, isn't he? Like 28 or 29 or something like that. He's been in the league for a few years. He started for a couple of years for the Raiders, I believe. He's been around. He showed that he had really good awareness as a coverage linebacker. That was what impressed me the most, is his ability to find the ball and disrupt passes in the secondary. Unfortunately, on one play, he dove to break it up and kind of exposed his shoulder and injured it. We don't know exactly how bad it is quite yet. It sounds like he avoided any super serious injury. Hopefully he just kind of strained it and he'll be able to play in the next couple of weeks. But loved the way he moved around. Great pursuit to the ball. And his instincts seem pretty awesome, honestly. So I was excited about him. Let me guess who your number 3 middle linebacker is. I don't know why he slipped my mind when I was doing the pregame.
I know.
Pre-show notes here. But Quan Alexander, right? That's got to be it.
100%.
Yeah. Boy, what a hitting machine, huh? He got to play early, and everybody on offense knew it because he was blowing people up, man.
Yeah. The one, I believe one of the tackles or something he got flagged for, if I'm not mistaken.
He did. Yeah, he did, but he didn't hit him in the head. He had his head off to the side. He hit him in the shoulder with his head. It was just one of those knee-jerk reaction things from the ref because it was such a hard hit.
Yeah. But no, it was a great game for him, proving that he has a reason to be on this team as well. So quite frankly, out of those 3 guys, I think Quan and Mark Robinson are shoo-ins at this point for the 53.
Yeah.
Nick has a little bit more to put forward and effort to put in, but Landon Roberts, and Cole Holcomb and Tanner Muse are all guys. Well, Cole Holcomb's on the team for sure as well.
Cole looked fine.
Landon Roberts, I don't know about at this point.
I didn't feel like he really jumped off the tape when watching
No.
the game. I don't know that I ever noticed him making a play, and I have no idea how many tackles he had or anything like that, but it didn't seem like he was really jumping off as being much of an impact player. So if there's a takeaway from me is that I think the depth at middle linebacker is a lot stronger than we thought it was. We were really worried that the team didn't really like it, and I think maybe it was just more so that there's some talent that they wanted to add there. Kwiatkowski looks like he was a great add. Alexander looks like he was a great add. Tanner Muse looked really stiff to me. It looked like his change of direction was difficult. He oftentimes took a few extra steps in order to change directions. So it does make me wonder if maybe he's got like a groin injury going on or something, because that's very difficult to change directions when you've got a nagging groin injury.
Yep.
If he doesn't and he's just that stiff, then I don't see him making the team.
Yeah, that would be very unfortunate for him. But again, that's what you kind of got to look forward to and see. So we'll see what happens. I'm excited that it seems like we went from having no middle linebackers to too many, and I don't know what's going to happen now. It's crazy.
Good problem.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have. Cornerback room, there's two guys that were on the field 90% of the game, it felt like. Holy crap. James Pierre and Barku.
Luke Barku.
It felt like they never left the game. And you kept talking about it the whole game. You're like, they're still out there.
Yeah, it was like late in the third quarter, and it was still Pierre and Barku at starting corner. Saw a big rotation at slot corner. It seemed like everybody got a chance to play slot corner. And again, I forgot to write down a name that I'm definitely going to bring up. Elijah Riley, I thought, had a really nice game. Very active against the run. Very much so involved in tackling and getting to the defender. So I really liked what I saw out of Elijah Riley at slot corner. Unfortunately, Duke Dawson injured his knee pretty badly late in the game. He was also playing some slot corner. And then I know we saw some of the new guy there, the Minnesota Viking in slot corner as well.
Oh,
yeah. He was in there also.
Yeah.
Lots of guys getting opportunities there.
Yeah, Barku didn't seem to pop on paper or the gameplay, quite frankly, which might have been a good thing in all honesty.
I feel like they were targeting Pierre. He ended up with 10 tackles in the game. And it's good that he was getting his guy to the ground and that sort of thing. But oftentimes when a guy on the other side has 0 tackles, it's because he just wasn't getting targeted.
Yep.
And does that mean that his coverage was that good? Maybe.
Could be.
Maybe.
Or was the other coverage just that bad? We don't know. We have to go back and watch
or was he so far away that he couldn't even get the tackle?
We got to go watch the 22 man tape again.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are the only two guys we're going to talk about in the quarterback room. We didn't really get to see a whole lot of anybody else. You did mention Elijah Riley as well. He did play well in the corner. He ended the game with 2 tackles. Safety position, the safety position is, again, we know the top 3 guys. Who's going to be that 4th guy to make the team? Well, Trenton Thompson had a nice pick in the game. And then also Kenny Robinson, my guy from, West Virginia, had a decent game as well. I felt like he started. He didn't have any plays where he got completely torched or missed tackles or the things that I was used to seeing from Terrell Edmonds, bad lines at chasing the running back or wide receiver. Not saying that won't happen with him, but it's just things that didn't pop out that I've seen in the past from other safeties. So Kenny Robinson had 4 tackles. Trenton Thompson obviously had the interception in the game as well as a tackle that I believe he registered in the game. Decent play from safeties, thinking that your starting 3 weren't playing. Your top 3 weren't playing. 4
if you count Norwood too. He didn't play either.
That's true.
Yeah.
So good play out of the safety room. I don't know if you have anything else to say about those guys.
No, I liked how active Trenton Thompson was. That's, again, the first time I've seen him play for Pittsburgh. Robinson, I thought, looked the part. He was all over the place, getting involved in tackles. Trenton Thompson brought the right energy, I felt.
Yep.
That's important in that room. It could be a nice option for the practice squad when you're looking to fill out a 16-man practice squad. You might want a couple of safeties on there, and I think Trenton Thompson did himself a favor with that and has a potential of being one of those guys on the practice squad now.
Yeah, definitely have to see what happens with the safety room. I'm excited for all of this. All of these guys played, a decent game, 27 to 17 victory always is a good time to start the preseason off. You got something else to say? What's up?
Yeah, how about BT Potter's leg, man? It's a lot stronger than I thought for a little dude.
Yeah.
He's not real big, but he was booting those kickoffs out of the end zone. So
yeah, and
that's kind of impressive.
Kicked to 30,
made all his kicks.
30 and 43 yarder, as well as the three extra points. So perfect game for him.
A couple of them were close. A couple of them were real close. He doinked one in.
Yep.
He had a couple of them that just kind of snuck in the uprights, but in the end, he made them all. So good job by him.
Yeah, that's what matters. Moving on to a couple of things that happened over the course of the last 2 or 3 days. Steelers did sign another middle linebacker by the name of Forrest Rhyne, and they did waive injured Chappelle Russell, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, and when we say waive/injured, what that means is they're going through the waiver process. If nobody claims him, he reverts back to Pittsburgh and he goes on the injured reserve. The only reason that this is a thing is because there are certain guys that you don't want to take the chance of losing. You put them straight to the injured reserve. There are certain guys that if somebody else wants to claim them, then it won't count against your salary cap for them going on the injured reserve. So you give them the opportunity to be claimed by somebody else with that designation, which indicates that they are injured. You are intending on putting them in the injured reserve. If somebody would like to steal them, they can do so. Have them be on their own injured reserve instead.
Yep.
So that's all it is with Chappelle Russell. Unfortunately for him, he injured his knee on special teams. Didn't even get a chance to play on defense. And I was excited to see him on defense because I was hearing a lot of good things coming out of camp from him. But unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to see that. Some room and movements in the secondary there too, right, Cody?
Yeah. So they also signed a cornerback by the name of Lavert Hill. And they did waive cornerback Isaiah Dunn. Now, again, that's Isaiah Dunn's just off the team. No waive, no injury, no nothing. He's just on the waiver wire. And they did place Duke Dawson on IR, which Duke Dawson, again, we saw to get to play a decent amount of slot corner. Duke Dawson had a great breakup in the back of the end zone that probably would have been a touchdown had he not been there. And unfortunately, that's the play he got injured on. I want to say it was a knee injury by the looks of it, and it did not look good. So unfortunate for Duke Dawson. That was a guy that we had. I think you had Megan year 53, if I'm not mistaken. No.
Nope. No, I had Elijah Riley.
So but that's very unfortunate. He was a guy we talked about fighting for that starting position. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with him. That's it for this show. Please make sure, if you guys haven't already, if you guys are listening on Spotify or Apple iTunes or wherever you happen to be listening, be sure to give those 5-star reviews. We appreciate those things so much. You can also give them on Facebook. But thank you guys so much for watching and listening. If you're on YouTube watching, be sure to like and follow on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Subscribe and ring the bell. It's free. And until next time, this is your host, James and Cody, signing off.
Peace.